Yes, today we are discussing a soul calling, and I have Teresa Moss with me, and she is introducing us to Music City Recovery and Wellness. It is her mission, and she's going to tell us about it and what it means to her. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, you can go right ahead and tell us about your mission.
Okay. So I've had a mission for as long as I can remember. I believe in alignment. I had a lot more healing to do with my own. Past 4 years have been probably the most dark days of my life. It was things I went through. I didn't think I was going to survive, and I did. And when I came out of that, I had a whole new awareness of my traumas, the things that I hadn't addressed in a lot of years, the things that were keeping me stuck and keeping me trapped in really toxic codependent relationships, things like that. So then I also joined a couple of recovery groups for women who were going through divorces. And that is when I really started to see that we as women have been so just disenfranchised, and we have been made to think that, we just need to go ahead and give up our whole identity and our happiness and everything for, our family and our spouses. And I found that many of these women had given up everything to the point where they just stopped existing, right, for their families. And then in all of these cases, including my own, going through a divorce, the women have been left with nothing, literally nothing. No job skills, no income, nowhere to go. And it was heartbreaking to see this, right? And fortunately for me, that it didn't end that way for me. But that's why I felt this huge calling specifically to help women. I've helped many people over the course of many, many years. But that is when I really started to see, I really need to be able to reach out to the women, to really mentor the women, because I know what it's like to experience the kind of betrayal, the hurt, the devastation, the loss of yourself, and then having to build yourself back up again from nothing, literally. And so I think we've just bought into this whole thing that we just, that's to be a good wife. You have to go ahead and surrender everything, give up everything. And then you go into this toxic patriarchy in the church and things like that. And it's so destructive. It's so damaging. It's actually abuse. Okay. I'll just call it what it is. Okay. It's religious abuse. And I was a victim of that, narcissistic abuse and all other kinds of abuse. I've always known that I have this innate ability to connect with people on a much deeper level. But what happened 4 years ago changed everything for me. And that's what I'm saying. I really felt called because so many people said, we really need to go ahead and start your business and just get that out there. Lost my middle son. He was 31. Lost him to a fentanyl overdose. Then 6 months later, on my birthday, I got a call that my brother was in the hospital, severe burns. He passed away a week later. And then I lost my sister 2.5 or 3 years after that. And then I was raising my granddaughter. I got her when she was a year and a half old, and I raised her for 5 years, and she was removed out of my care. And then I got divorced after 36 years. So there was a lot of loss over that 4 year period. And I didn't think I was going to survive it, to be honest with you. I probably wouldn't have had it not been for the support and the love that I had around me. People were pouring into me. And that was really for the first time that I actually accepted help, because I've always been the one that's been helping people. I found out is I can't pour into people if I have nothing to give, right? So I was for the first time able to allow people to help me. This has been probably the most just empowering in my recovery journey, is learning how to, accept help and accept love in other people, and how to love myself, and how to break these generational traumas of being stuck in these really toxic codependent relationships. But what I found out later was that was another way for me to cope. I wasn't processing my feelings. I wasn't processing my traumas. I was just basically going to church, right? And I was putting on this smiling face and pretending everything was happy, everything was okay. And it really wasn't. I got divorced. My divorce was final March of this year. So I have been on a journey to just find myself and to find out that, I have the power all along to be what I want to be. And going within for those answers that always come. I call it the Spirit of God. He's within us. And for the first time in my life, I hired an attorney. I've never hired an attorney before. I had no idea what I was doing, but I did it. And it took a year, and I won the case, and I got visitation with my granddaughter. And so while that was going on, I got served with divorce papers. And I didn't know how I was going to do that either, because I was already in a legal case with my son. And that was costing me a lot of money. I was in the middle of two legal battles at the same time. And I hired an attorney, and I told her exactly what I wanted. And it took a year, and I got everything I wanted and more. And I learned to trust myself for the first time. You know, there's nothing that I can't do. You know, if I can reach out and help, women that are going through the same thing, they're stuck in these patterns. They're just really toxic, dysfunctional patterns. And it usually happens because we're stuck in these, for me, it was childhood trauma. I just repeated those patterns. I was married for 36 years. So this is the first time that I've been on my own, single, living my own life, the way that I want to live it, and healing and doing the inner work. Some days it's really hard. I will say that. It's not an easy journey, but so far it's been so rewarding and so just empowering. There's days where I just have a lot of grief because I've had so much loss. And then there's days that I'm living my best life. And what I've learned is I can do both. I can live my best life, and I can also show up for myself. And it still comes from time to time. And it's okay, because I feel like when I am in that space and I allow those feelings to come, it's very healing. If I'm not doing the inner work and I'm not healing and I'm not seeing the progress, I can't really help somebody else to that level. I can only help them at the level that I'm at. Okay, well, this is the time, right? So that's how Music City Recovery and Wellness started. And that's my story.
Thank you so much for telling us about you and the things that you've had to overcome to get to this point today. I do agree that as women, we are expected to be many things in life and carry many identities as mothers, as wives, co-workers, employees. However, we do not always get a chance to discover that for ourselves. We're all constantly being told what we're supposed to be and how that's supposed to look like, whether it's social norms or expectations on our physical looks and morally, which all comes from a long line of generational traditions for our past family members, and we kind of don't get to choose what our lives are going to look like for ourselves for a long time. And I definitely want to reassure you on how difficult it is to take on that journey after you've been kind of there for everybody else. Like you said, you've always been expected to raise the children, to show up for the family members, to be the wife. And there's not that time to recognize, well, what do I want to do? How can I show up for myself? Just congratulate you for being at this point now and also helping others. And it brings me to ask you, how are you doing that through your mission now? What are some of the things you offer the women? How can they find you?
If anybody is interested, I'm doing for the first 3 people that message me at Music Recovery and Wellness. I'm going to do some free consultations, about a 30-minute consultation, to see where they are and what it is that they're struggling with, to see maybe I can help them on their journey.
How do you do continuous care for them after that first consultation?
Kind of go over their goals, like pulling them out of the survival, where they are now and where they want to be. And the roadmap is going to just look different for each person, but it's basically what I've done for myself, right? And it always starts with the inner work, because I feel like that is the key for everything. We can do all of these different things, but nothing's really going to help us until we go back into the inner work. And that involves, really diving deep into their childhood issues. We all have trauma, right? Different levels of trauma. So it just depends on what it is.
It's really nice meeting you, learning about you, and I want to thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that.
Of course.